This is the road. This is Riverview Road, and the home that exploded is just up there over the hillside here. Now, we know this happened early this morning. From talking to people, we know that a woman came outside at the time and actually saw the home and said that it was her parents inside that home. I had a chance to talk with one guy who actually ran there to the scene. His business is just across from River Road here, and he talked about what happened and what he saw and what he heard. Let's go ahead and listen to him if we have that.
Froze, and I ran outside because I thought it was something that happened in a factory here or a truck hit our building. You know, we have a pretty big factory here with a lot of presses, and that was my main concern when I came out. I was like, is everybody okay? And then as soon as I came out of the door, I looked up. I saw my nephew Logan, and I saw his eyes get real big, and I looked to my left, and that's where I saw literally like the best. It was a mushroom cloud. It really was.
That was John Bundy from Premier Pan, which is right here just across the street. Again, that explosion was right over here. He says that he ran over there with several people, checked to make sure, see if everybody was okay. Of course, we've learned that 2 people died. He also talked about a volunteer who he says ran in there, really not looking out for himself, not paying attention to anything except checking to see if there were survivors. He couldn't give that person credit enough, but he also is the one that says he spoke with the couple's daughter, who walked outside holding a baby and was obviously quite emotional when she realized what happened, that was her parents' home. So that is what we have learned from people around this community. We know that several people nearby had their windows blown out. It was quite a loud explosion from what Bundy told me. So we're going to continue to talk to some people around this area to see what we can learn about this explosion early this morning. So for now, reporting live in Crescent Township, Marcy Cipriani, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
Yeah, and Marcy, we're kind of in this shift change here. We've had crews on the scene all morning since this took place, since we first heard about it. And we're here right now with Elena and myself, and we're getting everybody through this next hour of coverage to get as many details as we can and get as many perspectives as we can on this emergency and this crisis that's happening in Crescent Township. Marcy, just a quick question for you. And you're talking to the folks, when I think about Crescent, it's right there along the Ohio River. It borders Moon Township. It's such a tight-knit community. So often when we cover emergencies like this, the first responders who are going to the scene and running to the scene and running into danger know the people who live in these places. They know the individuals who are victims. When you talk about the firefighters and the police officers and the medics, you see a police officer driving by right there. Marcy, give us a sense of that community and how small it is and how tight-knit it is.
Yeah, it's actually very tight-knit. As I mentioned, their daughter lives right next door to this explosion. And we've watched some people walk down this hillside here, shaking their heads. And I said, how are you doing? Not very good. Everybody seems to know the people in in the community here. And one person I did talk to actually tells me who they believe one of the people is. And they believe that lots more people are gonna know this family. Once they release the identities of those killed, we'll talk a little bit more, of course, about that. But this is a couple, from what I understand, that many people, not only in the neighborhood, but throughout Crescent Township, know them. So again, the fact that the daughter lives next door and the people I've talked to coming down here know the family shows really what a tight community this is, and that firefighters just ran there to the scene. A guy that just works across the street here raced over to the scene to see if they could help. So Shannon, you're right, it's a very, very tight-knit community, very small area where people seem to very much care about each other and know each other.
Absolutely, Marcy, thanks so much.